Novel. Chapter 1. The Arrival. It was a dark and stormy night when the aliens arrived. The small town of Millfield was quiet and peaceful, until the strange lights appeared in the sky. People gathered outside to watch as the spaceship landed in the town square. The aliens emerged from their craft, looking around with curiosity. Detective Sarah Johnson was on duty that night, and she was one of the first to arrive at the scene. She had never seen anything like it before. The aliens were tall and thin, with large heads and big, black eyes. They wore silver suits that shimmered in the moonlight. Sarah approached them cautiously, her hand on her gun. "What brings you to Millfield?" she asked. "We come in peace," one of the aliens replied in a strange, robotic voice. Sarah wasn't convinced. She had a bad feeling about this. She called for backup, and soon more officers arrived on the scene. They surrounded the aliens, keeping a safe distance. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. One of the aliens fell to the ground, dead. The other aliens looked shocked and confused. Sarah and her team sprang into action, trying to figure out what had happened. They searched the area for clues, but there was no sign of the killer. As the investigation continued, Sarah realized that this was no ordinary murder case. The victim was an alien from another planet, and the killer was still on the loose. It was up to her to solve the mystery and bring the killer to justice before they struck again. Chapter 2. The Message. Sarah and her team were still reeling from the shock of the aliens' murder when they received a strange message. It came through on all their radios at once, a robotic voice speaking in broken English. The robot speaks within a dark robot face. "Hello. We have a message for the human race. All we need, all we want, is to tell you we want peace. Put down the weapons of mass destruction. War solves nothing. We come from planets to galaxies to tell the world, peace is everything. Peace is love. Why do you hold a gun to me?" Sarah listened to the message with a mix of confusion and suspicion. Was this some kind of elaborate hoax? Or was it really a message from the aliens? She ordered her team to investigate the source of the transmission. They traced it back to a small, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. As they approached the warehouse, Sarah felt a sense of unease. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. But she pushed it aside and led her team inside. The warehouse was dark and musty, filled with old crates and broken machinery. They heard a faint humming noise coming from the back of the warehouse. They followed the noise until they came to a small room at the end of a hallway. Inside, they found a strange robot with a dark face. It looked like something out of a science fiction movie. The robot spoke again in its robotic voice. "We come in peace. We want to share our knowledge with you." Sarah raised her gun, ready to defend herself if necessary. She didn't trust this robot or its message. But before she could react, the robot suddenly shut down. Its lights went out and it fell silent. Sarah and her team were left standing in the dark, wondering what had just happened. Was this some kind of trap? Or was there more to this message than they realized? Only time would tell. 3 of your story. Chapter 3. Understanding. Sarah stood in the dark barn, staring at the robotic aliens before her. She was confused and unsure of what to do next. The aliens had shut down suddenly, and now they were back up and running again. She heard a commotion outside and knew that her officers were concerned about what was going on. She took a deep breath and stepped forward to speak to the aliens. As she approached, she noticed that the lights around the abandoned warehouse were flickering. It was as if the power source was unstable. Suddenly, Sarah's gun started to glow. It became so hot that she had to drop it, and it melted into a puddle on the ground. The robot spoke again in its robotic voice. "Now do you understand? We are not from this planet. We need the world to understand that war doesn't solve anything. We are love. We were sent here to quiet a planet that equalized that we are love, we are truth." Sarah started to understand. She realized that these aliens weren't here to harm anyone. They were here to spread a message of peace and love. She looked at the robot and said, "What do you want me to do?" The robot replied, "We need you to help us spread our message. We need the world to hear what we have to say." Sarah nodded. She knew that this wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to try. She turned to her officers and said, "We need to work together with these aliens. We need to find a way to share their message with the world." Answer. Sarah and her team set out on a mission to spread the aliens' message of peace and love. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to make a difference. As they worked together with the aliens, Sarah realized that this was an opportunity to bring the world together. To unite people from all walks of life in a common goal, peace. Answer. They set out on a journey that would change the course of human history forever. Of your story. Chapter 4. Spreading the message. Sarah got into a police car and headed to the nearest radio station. She knew that time was of the essence, and that they needed to spread the aliens' message as quickly as possible. When she arrived at the radio station, she burst into the studio and said, "Listen to me. I have a message. What you need to understand is that these aliens are from a planet called Articulite. They are not here to hurt the human race. They are here to help us within mankind to make mankind love each other and love the world. We need to send this message across the world." The radio host looked at her skeptically, but Sarah was determined to get her message out. She explained about the aliens' technology, how it could melt guns and weapons of mass destruction, even nuclear bombs. "If the governments of the world don't understand," she said, "these robots from other planets across the universe will show them. They'll show the people that we mean no harm. All we want is love." Sarah spent the next few hours contacting TV companies and other media outlets, spreading the aliens' message far and wide. She knew that this was an opportunity to bring the world together, to unite people in a common goal of peace and love. As she worked with the aliens, she realized that they were not so different from humans after all. They too wanted to live in a world free of war and violence, a world where everyone could live in harmony. Sarah became the police force of the new army, working with the robot aliens from Articulite to spread their message across the world. She was determined to make a difference, to help create a better future for all of humanity. Answer. Sarah and her team continued their mission, working tirelessly to spread the aliens' message of peace and love. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Here's Chapter 5 of your story. Chapter 5. Finding Allies. As Sarah continued to spread the aliens' message of peace and love, she came across a man who didn't understand its importance. He was skeptical and cynical, and believed that violence was the only way to solve problems. Sarah knew that she needed to change this man's mind, but she wasn't sure how. She decided to speak to people who had already had contact with the aliens, hoping that they could provide some insight. She found a group of people who had been abducted and taken aboard an alien ship. They were hesitant to talk at first, but Sarah convinced them that their story could help change the world. The first person stood up and said, "My name is Orion Horizon." The second person stood up and said, "My name is Pete Staff. I believe in love." The third person stood up and said, "My name is Jacqueline Taylor. I speak the word of love, happiness, and kindness." When you speak the word of love, happiness, and kindness, this is the answer. Sarah listened intently as they spoke. She realized that these people were allies in her mission to spread the aliens' message of peace and love. Then, a man named Hope stood up and said, "When you understand the world, you understand the frequencies of 3609. The alien turned around and said, "We do understand. We need to build a world and help the world comrades and help." Sarah felt a sense of hope. She knew that she wasn't alone in her mission. There were others out there who believed in the same message of peace and love. Together, they would work to create a better future for all of humanity. They would spread the aliens' message far and wide, until everyone on Earth understood the importance of peace and love. Answer. Sarah continued on her mission, working with her allies to spread the message of peace and love across the world. She knew that it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Chapter 6. Challenging the establishment. Sarah continued to travel across America, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love. She knew that she needed to reach as many people as possible, and that meant challenging the establishment. She made her way to the White House, holding a sign that read, "Peace and love for all." When she arrived, she raised her sign up over her head and called out to the president. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Sarah. These are aliens from the planet Articulite. You cannot harm me. You cannot harm me." The president's army held up the guns, ready to fire. But Sarah stood her ground. She knew that violence was not the answer. Suddenly, all the armies across America came together and put down the guns, tanks, and war machines. They listened to what Sarah had to say. She turned to the robot and said, "Behold hope. What is your message for the world?" "Once you understand the frequencies of 3609, the robot replied, "Completion." Sarah turned to Ryan Horizon and asked, "What is your message for the world?" "We are one race," Ryan said. "We are here to spread love." The robot turned to Jacqueline Taylor and asked, "What is your message for the world?" "We can change the world," Jacqueline said. "Weapons of mass destruction do not need to exist." Finally, Pete Staff spoke up. "My message for the world is this: if God wanted guns, he would have put them down. God doesn't want guns." Sarah felt a sense of hope. She knew that they were making progress. The establishment was starting to listen. Answer. Sarah continued on her mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across America and beyond. She knew that it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Story. Chapter 7. Spreading the message across the world. As the armies in America put down the guns, Sarah and her team traveled across the world with the robots from the planet Articulite, along with Hope, Ryan Horizon, Jacqueline Taylor, and Pete Stark. They arrived in a country called Great Britain and approached the king. The king was skeptical and asked, "Who the hell are you? You come into my country, it doesn't matter what you can do. Your weapons mean nothing." Sarah explained that the robot was for peace and love, and that they were there to spread a message of hope. The king's soldiers held up the guns, ready to fire. "We are love," Sarah said. The robot turned around and said, "You understand." The king looked up in the sky and saw a big spaceship hovering overhead. It was the aliens from Articulite. The king's army couldn't shoot their weapons. They were powerless against the aliens' advanced technology. Sarah and her team continued to spread the message of peace and love across Great Britain. They met with people from all walks of life, from politicians to everyday citizens. They knew that their message was important, and that it needed to be heard. They worked tirelessly to spread the word, using every means possible. Answer. Sarah and her team continued on their mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Chapter 8. Uniting the World. Sarah left England, feeling hopeful that they had made a difference. The king had promised to stop the war, and they had spread their message of peace and love to many people. The aliens turned to Hope and asked if he had a message for the King of England. "We call for the world to build gardens, grow vegetables, live off your land. Your land is important. We need to come together in peace and unity, and we need to protect the children of Mother Earth." Ryan Horizon stood up and said, "Yes, we understand Hope's truth. We understand that aliens have been here for thousands of years, and we understand the scrolls of life. That's all I have to say." Jacqueline Taylor added, "We need to leave now. We need to go to Pete Stark's land. He needs to go to Ireland, to the land of the saints and scholars that this spaceship totem talked about. They flew to Ireland to meet with the teachers and leaders of their land. When they arrived, Pete Stark came home. Everybody gathered and chanted, "We love Pete Stark. He woke up Ireland." He had disappeared for 7 years, but now they knew why. They marched for him, and now it was time for the world to get together. Sarah and her team continued to spread their message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. They worked tirelessly to unite people from all walks of life, from all corners of the globe. They knew that if they could get enough people to believe in their message, they could change the world. Answer. Sarah and her team continued on their mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Chapter 9. Reactivating the Pyramids. The people of Ireland were inspired by Pete Stark's message and pledged to follow him across the earth. The Irish president, Michael D. Higgins, stood up and said, "I know your name. I know your face." Pete Stark turned to Michael D. Higgins and said, "We all have secrets within the planet. A great man once said, 'Freedom is every day.'" Michael D. Higgins asked, "Why did the aliens come to planet Earth? These robot races?" Pete Stark replied, "These robots are not bad. We come from the planet called Articulite. The robot said it's set in your Bible, and the President of America and the King of England understand now." Pete Stark then asked Michael D. Higgins if he wanted to come with them to Egypt. "We're going back to Egypt to reactivate our spaceship in the pyramids. But there is a spaceship in Ireland called Newgrange. Do you want to come to Egypt with the people of Ireland?" Michael D. Higgins was intrigued and agreed to join them on their journey. Answer. Sarah, Pete Stark, Michael D. Higgins, and their team traveled to Egypt. They made their way to the pyramids and began to reactivate their spaceship. As they worked, they knew that they were on the brink of something amazing. The aliens' advanced technology would change the world as they knew it. And then, something incredible happened. The spaceship in Newgrange activated, and they received a message from the aliens. The message was simple but powerful: "We are one race. We are here to spread love." Sarah and her team knew that they had succeeded. They had united people from all corners of the globe and had spread a message of peace and love that would change the world. Answer. Sarah and her team continued on their mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. 10. The power of love. As Hope held out his hand in Egypt, flowers and cabbages sprouted from the earth. Animals began to speak, telling them that they were sent by God a long time ago to feed the human race and wake them up to peace and love. Ryan Horizon joined them, and the spaceship landed in Egypt. He said, "We've said this for hundreds of years, but nobody listened. We are all one race. It's true what we said." Pete Stark added, "One thing is all that matters: love and happiness and kindness." He woke up Jacqueline Taylor, he woke up us, and he woke up many people. The human race came together, and wars stopped across the world. They flew to other planets to meet their family and understand the end. Answer. The world had peace. The power of love had overcome all obstacles, and humanity had finally come together as one. Sarah and her team knew that their mission was complete. They had spread the aliens' message of peace and love across the world, and they had succeeded in bringing about a better future for all of humanity. As they looked out at the world, they knew that there was still much work to be done. But they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. For the sake of humanity, they would continue to spread their message of peace and love. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. Answer. Sarah and her team continued on their mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. Chapter 11. A New Beginning. Pete Stark returned to planet Earth, and the world was finally free. Monica turned around and greeted him warmly, noting that he hadn't changed much in the 20 years that had passed. Jacqueline Taylor reminded them all that they were all emotion now, always remembering the power of love and peace. Ryan Horizon added, "We've done it. Now peace and love will change the world." Hope turned to them all and said, "I knew we had a mission in life." The world came together, and for thousands of years, there was never war on the Arctic end. The animals spoke to the people, and dogs barked, never again silent. They spread the message of love, happiness, and kindness. Answer. A new beginning had dawned for humanity. The power of love had overcome all obstacles, and the world was finally at peace. Sarah and her team knew that their mission was complete. They had succeeded in spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. As they looked out at the world, they knew that there was still much work to be done. But they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. For the sake of humanity, they would continue to spread their message of peace and love. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. Answer. Sarah and her team continued on their mission, spreading the aliens' message of peace and love across the world. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to succeed. For the sake of humanity, they would do whatever it took to bring about a better future. The end. Record